Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Kim Allen, and thank you for joining me for this episode of the reLeading podcast. We have a really special guest today. I just wanted to say up front that remember one thing, which is why I have my podcast about reLeading, and the whole point of that, it's because what we need to do as leaders, we can never be on the same journey without learning anything new or doing anything different, because everything always changes. So toward that, it's really important that we learn how to pause and then pivot in our journey and then proceed with purpose, because that is actually how you get towards effectiveness. And I believe in it so much so that I wrote 2 books. So reLead is about leadership effectiveness. This is also a workbook inside. And my latest book, it's called Reengage. And this is how to master the art of intentional engagement. Really, both of those books fall under my umbrella of leadership effectiveness. So that being said, I want to welcome my very special guest today, Angela Arrington. Angela, how are you?
I'm excellent, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing great. And by the way, everyone, she is excellent. Okay. So, Angela, I'm going to actually share your background with the audience, okay? And then we're going to have a little bit of fun, and then we're going to get into our topic today. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So I just want to let everyone know that up front, full disclosure, that Angela and I used to work together as executive coaches. In fact, I hired her. And the funny, not so funny, kind of funny story is that she lives in Pittsburgh, and we were interviewing in Hershey, which was how long of a drive?
About 4 to 5 hours. It was a nice drive.
Right. And we had a major snowstorm.
Yeah. I think it was in like February. So.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
So Angela came in, and I knew within 30 seconds that I was going to hire her. She's one of those people. And we had a great interview. And she's really one of the few executive coaches that I have so high up on a pedestal. I really respect her. And you're going to learn a lot from her today. Okay. So toward that, all right, I'm going to read you a little bit about her bio, because I think it's important for everyone watching this and also listening to this to know about Angela's background. Angela's passion and work concentrate in the areas of executive coaching, strategic thinking, talent development, leadership training, and team facilitation. For over 20 years, Angela has worked closely with organizations to strengthen their workforce engagement. I love the word engagement, and talent development approaches, create and deliver programs that have measurable impact and ensure that workforce and talent development strategies are aligned with organizational business goals. That is a win right there. Angela is also the former director of corporate and executive education at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, where she's led a team and worked closely with faculty and senior business leaders to design, deliver corporate leadership programs. And finally, and I had forgotten this about you, Angela. Angela holds a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering from University of Tennessee and a Master of Science in Industrial Administration, MBA, from Carnegie Mellon University. Her husband Michael reside in Pittsburgh, PA, and this is what I love of her entire bio, and have 4 children, all making their unique mark on the world around them. Who writes that?
They are.
Who writes that? Amazing. So you're highly qualified, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so it's what's interesting is how I love the story about how we connected.
Yeah.
Because I walked away from that interview saying, I really want to work with her. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And Angela just has this uncanny gift of making everyone feel so relaxed and calm. You're like the female Dr. Phil.
Ooh.
Right?
Pressure.
No, not at all. Okay. All right. So now that the audience knows who you are and why you're here, we're going to have a little fun before we dive into our topic, which is called leadership courage. And we're going to talk about why Angela picked that great topic. All right. So a couple things, and then 2 interesting questions, and then 2 fun questions.
Okay.
All right. Interesting questions. And I'll ask these two back to back. All right. So, what is something that we need to know about Angela Arrington? And what is something that is nice to know about Angela Arrington?
So I think a nice, let's just start with a nice to know. A nice to know is I am a family first person, right? And maybe that's a need to know too. The reason that's in my bio is that really speaks to the heart of who I am. And I try to be a good coach, even with my children, with my family. And so that's a nice to know about me. I am family first always. And a need to know is that I think I'm an other first, meaning when I'm working with another leader, whether they're a client or they're just someone who I've met at the airport and we're having a conversation, I want them to feel that they're valued and important to me in that conversation. So I think that's a need to know. And if I can bring that to every person that I interact with, if I can be just that little bit of light, right, then I'm fulfilling what my purpose is. And I've defined that as my purpose long ago. And so my journey is trying to make sure that I fulfill that in every way that I can. I'm not 100% perfect at that. Rarely am I perfect at it, but that is my intent. And that's how I want to show up to each person that I meet, in particular my clients and my family.
Right. Right. And so everyone, you can even just see from Angela and feel it from her that you indeed are your own message. And I will vouch for that forever. Angela speaking now is the same Angela that I met years ago. And you know what? Your values have not changed. And you're hoping to be a light to other people, but I think you're a beacon of light to other people. I really feel that from you. And if I feel that, I know that everyone else feels it too, right?
Well, hope so. And beacons attract.
That's right. Beacons attract. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun. So you might know this one, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. All right. Okay. So what was your first concert? What was your best concert?
Wow. My first concert. My first concert was a senior in high school, and I went to see the Commodores. That was my first concert. My best concert was Prince.
You saw Prince?
I saw him twice. Maybe, I think it may have been 3 times I saw him. And my first time was in college. My second time was in college. And my third time was right after college. But I will tell you that the level of performance and the level of brilliance that he depicted during, I guess, the height of his life were just phenomenal. And wow. To me, every concert kind of needs to measure that.
Wow.
That level of energy and engagement were just phenomenal. I mean, I felt like I was, even though I may not have been that close to the stage, I felt as if I was literally right up near that stage.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so jealous. I'm jelly.
Are you?
I'm jelly.
And there's some great artists out there today. What about you? Can I ask it of you?
Oh, absolutely. So, so no one would even recognize these concerts. So, but I will tell you, my first conscious concert, I remember Stevie Wonder, who, I'm sorry, but he's perfect.
He is.
I just found out he's playing, so he's still having concerts. Best concert. You know what? We are huge U2 fans.
Okay.
Right? And we went to the Sphere last year. And saw them live in that Sphere. You know what? We're so off track, and I don't care. But I will tell you, they're for 4 people on stage, what they can do is just really amazing.
Sure.
They are they're the most inclusive band for all cultures, and I love it.
Yeah,
so, anyway.
I've never seen them. That maybe that's an aspiration.
Unbelievable. So, well, thank you for asking that, because no one ever does. Okay. All right, now we're going to begin. All right. So when I talked with, I have a lot of notes here, okay, that I might be pulling from. But when I spoke with Angela, there's so many topics that we can talk about with regard to leadership, especially as executive coaches, because we're executive coaches and we are in a world where leadership is king or queen. So I did ask Angela what she preferred to talk about, and she preferred to talk about leadership courage, which that's a book unto itself, right?
Could be.
Right.
Maybe we'll write that one together.
You know what? We could do that.
Mhm.
Okay, that would be my fifth book. All right. So, Angela, let me ask you a question. And again, this is just you and I talking right now, but this is
Mhm.
all going to be coming from you quickly because
Sure.
of your experience. So, why do you think that's such an important topic for today?
I think today that leaders are faced with a lot of perplexing situations, right?
Mhm.
Our organizations are extremely dynamic. The industries that we're serving in are extremely dynamic. Not only are we talking about customers and the industry itself, but leaders are changing and they're shifting and they're moving around from organization to organization. So if I'm a leader inside of one, I'm faced with all of these changes in addition to the team that
Yes.
I am trying to lead and to inspire every day, and the peers that I'm trying to inspire and co lead with every day. And I think that to keep from leading by default, sometimes we have to lead quite intentionally. And
Mhm.
that means we may need to shift a bit of how we behave, our mindset in terms of how we think about leadership and what that looks like every day, how we want to show up. Those are your words. I remember those words you said. How are you showing up?
Yeah.
How we're choosing to show up every day. And in many cases, that takes courage, the courage to be authentic, the courage to be vulnerable, the courage to step out and take risk, to present your point of view with intentionality, right? With clarity.
Yeah, that's really so true. And so I'm going to read real quick to the
Mhm.
audience. This is part of the email. When we spoke,
Yeah.
we were going to be a guest, and we were going to be talking about leadership courage. And you were solidifying this in an email. You said, and I thought more about the topic of leadership courage. In fact, I woke up this morning with it on my mind.
Mhm.
Here's what it means to me and what I notice as I coach others. And I'm just going to read what you said, okay, because it's all fantastic. Courage to be vulnerable and show up as your authentic self, which is what you just said,
Mhm.
to lean into your values and stand for what you believe, which is so important, but it's really
Yeah.
tricky, right? Because we're talking about how we have to really be careful about everything we say and do now. Things have changed in the past 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
To take risks that are aligned with your values and those of the organization that you support. There's a few more points, everyone. So these are Angela's words, which I think are so prophetic. The to continually improve your leadership, sometimes in a way that seems counterintuitive,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
To operate with a growth mindset and not be stuck in that's just who I am. I'm going to read this one last because I have a question. To include others and not go it alone, it takes a village. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
To lead and not manage folks that are smarter than you.
Mm.
And then the last one is really why I wrote my second book. To communicate with clarity and directness, and you put in quotes, love.
Mhm.
I have a question mark next to that. And
Yeah.
my question for you, because again, we're still talking about courage.
Yeah.
That is so interesting that you brought the word love in because we're in business environments,
Yeah.
right? Look at
Right?
everyone. I'm looking at you're watching this podcast and not just listening. You've got to see Angela. What
Yeah.
do you mean by that?
What do I mean by love? To
Right.
lead with love? Wow.
Clarity and
Okay.
directness.
So Brene Brown says this. She says to be direct
Yes.
is to be kind, and to be unkind is to be indirect, right? To kind of fiddle around the bush, right? Not really get to the heart of what you intend and what the other person needs to understand. And I think to lead with love means that you're leading with the mindset that I care
Mm,
about this person that I'm speaking with, that I care about this team that I'm working with, that I care about the problem that we're trying to solution around. And so that has to come from a place of love and concern. And if I'm not leading from there, I just wonder, how do I make real connection
mm,
with the people that I'm trying to co-lead with and get something accomplished with?
right.
I think it starts from a place of caring and concern, and to me, that's love. Now
Yeah,
that may sound flaky
not at
to
all.
some people, but if I lead from my authentic self, I must lead with love, or I'm not leading authentically at all.
Right. So everyone, note this, okay? This is my podcast, and I'm in student mode, and I took notes. I took
You're
notes.
hilarious.
So,
I just
right,
love it.
this is
Stop.
Angela in action. Um,
Well,
yeah, you know what? That is so interesting that you said that, because probably other folks, when they hear that, they go to them in the workplace, not you coaching them in the workplace. And they're with a team who they don't even like, let alone love, right? But
yes.
I think once you put on that hat, that if the leader is leading them in a way that their mindset is that they care about them.
Yes.
They care about them as humans. They care about them as future leaders.
Yes.
They care about them as becoming better leaders.
Yes. Absolutely.
What they're doing is they're taking that person's journey and they're holding it in the palm of their hands.
That's right.
And you and I mean, I know that I've seen Satan at work with leaders who will just crush anyone and flick them off. That is not anyone who cares about other people or loves other people. It's more about them just disliking everyone. But I think you're right. Once you cross that threshold that says, I care about that person, that's the win.
It is the win, isn't it? And I think we both have experienced that. And the people that we're coaching, most people, let me just say, most people that I coach come to the table with the mindset that I'm caring and I'm concerned about not just the business, because that's one. We're all concerned about the business, but I'm concerned and I care about the people that I engage with every day, right?
Right.
So most people come with that. But we know that there can sometimes be a disconnect between what I intend and how it's delivered.
100%.
And so what the connection there is reminding myself daily that I am caring about this. I am concerned about this. I do choose to lead from an authentic place. And for me, that authentic place is dignity, love, respect for others, care and concern for what it is that we are trying to accomplish. Now I'm creating the right degree of resonance. And so I don't look at my team or my people as something that I can flick away.
Right.
People have options. And who wants to work for a leader? Who wants to work for a leader every day that doesn't demonstrate that care and concern? It makes it tough. It makes it very tough for us.
Yeah. And there are people out there as we speak that are in a hellacious relationship because their leader does not care about them. They only care about the goals of the business organization. And caring about the goals, I mean, that's their charge as a leader, to be able to unwrap that so that it unfolds to their teams in a way that they make their goals. But along the way, it's lost in translation, because it's not like you've got to sell 50 widgets by tomorrow, other than finding out what's really going on in their world, why they are selling 60 widgets, but someone else isn't, or that person can't sell 5 widgets. Yeah. No one's taking that time. No one cares. No one is engaging.
Yeah. And I think we can do both.
I agree with you.
I think that we can care deeply about the objectives. I do believe that what we're paid for, right? And the higher up we go, we know that that's our what. We know that that's our what. Delivering on that is our what.
Right.
And the higher up we go, what becomes even more important is how we do that. Right. And so I think we can do both. I think that we can be very concerned about the objectives. And we also are very concerned about how we deliver those objectives through the human beings that are a member of our team, who are parallel to us trying to accomplish that same goal.
Right. That's so true. In reEngage, I actually wrote a whole chapter on perspective, which I think is so important, because again, I think that leaders sometimes just show up to work without really thinking about much of anything other than, I've got to do the same thing today, what I did yesterday. Right? Exactly.
Pressure.
So I think exactly, that's exactly what it is. And it does not leave room for a growth mindset. And I just think that the perspective, I know for me, okay, that when I think about people in the workplace, and especially for the leaders that are not really effective, who are just doing more harm than good. But then again, witnessing the leaders who really are effective doing so much good, that I think at the end of the day, when you look at everyone that you work with, that could be your mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, best friend.
Mhm.
And you would give them, you would look at all those people that are close to you and that you love, you would give them passes, pass, 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 pass. But yet we will not do that with our team.
Yeah.
And they don't have that perspective, again, to humanize them in a way and to get to know them and get to find out how this other person even wants to engage. But it is that courage part of it that stops
Mhm.
you. Why do you think people are afraid in general to be courageous at work?
It could be the pressures that they're under. I mean, we're under so many deadlines and
Right,
milestones that we must meet, and KPIs that we're responsive to and for,
right.
other leaders that we're responsible for. And I think sometimes we get very concerned about those things, as we should be. Again, I believe that we can do both.
Yes,
And so we must be concerned about that, because that's we're paid to do that as
right,
leaders, right? And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could kind of have this sweet spot where what I love to do and what I'm really good at and what I'm paid to do intersect?
right.
And through the course of, I think we found that place where we found that intersection, that sweet spot. But others just may still be striving for trying to figure out where is that sweet spot with
Right.
what I'm good at, what I love to do and I'm passionate about, and what I can be paid to do intersect. So, why do leaders not necessarily demonstrate that courage? I think it's the pressures that they are under, and they may not also have the tools to do that. And how many leaders have you worked with that they says, "Hey, I've been promoted into this role. I've not really been given that mentor. I don't have that mentor that's helping me through this. I haven't had any training or any
Right.
real development that helps me understand the
Mhm,
leadership mindset and
mhm.
how I can lead in an authentic way that actually delivers the right results, right,
Exactly.
for the organization." And that's why you and I and others who may be listening exist, is because we're willing to, number one, help develop someone, you and I, but
Yes.
also that leader is willing to develop. And so that takes courage to recognize where my blind spots are, where I may not be as effective as I could be.
Right.
And now I need to think about behavior and practices that are counterintuitive. It's not how I've done it before. It's not what I've been successful at before, but I need to lead a bit differently because I'm looking for a different set of results that
That's
are even more impactful than before. So that takes courage to recognize that and step
absolutely.
back and be
Yeah.
self aware and get that feedback.
That is really, really so well said, Angela. I think too that what I see is
Mhm.
fear. It always comes down to
Mhm. Yeah.
And like you said, if someone can articulate in their mind and through their verbal responses that they're here, but they need to be there, that to me, that's the win because they can't even
Mhm.
articulate that. All they know is
Mhm.
that I just got promoted or whatever. They have to do something different. They don't know what to do. And one thing that I have found with the courage that sometimes leaders are also looking for permission to be courageous.
Hmm.
And they're not always giving themselves
Hmm.
to be
Hmm.
courageous. You and I, we've got
Mhm.
that aerial view where we're looking at that client, if you will, knowing they can so do this in their sleep.
Yes.
They just need someone to give them permission.
Mhm.
And
Sometimes. Mhm.
right, um,
Mhm. Yep.
they need to give themselves permission too. But again, they
Mhm.
don't do it for a reason. And almost always it's a fear of something, which is really what you were saying.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions. All right, so you have your finger on the pulse of leadership courage. Let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
If there's even if this is, let me know if this is a real thing going on in the workplace now in your experience. What do you think is going on in the workplace to either encourage or discourage leadership courage? What's going on? What's the
So
dynamic?
I think that organizations that have so this is a buzzword, but I still see it play out. Organizations that have a culture where learning can occur, right? And so how does learning occur? Learning occurs through trial. Learning occurs through trying something different. Learning occurs in being open to other perspective. learning occurs in failure sometimes
Mm,
and also success.
right.
And so organizations that are really working hard to create this culture and this environment where we can give 150%, but we can also step back and say, what have we learned? What
Yes.
did we not do well? What can we do better? Where did we just blow it up or just fail, right? We just didn't do very well. We didn't meet the objective or the
Right.
goal, but we can experience a learning moment here that
Yes.
allows us to be much more effective and have
Yes.
much greater impact the next time around. So if that culture is permeated, right? If
Right.
that kind of an environment is there within the organization, I think leaders get can give themselves ample permission to step up in there because they will be met back with encouragement. They will be met with really good constructive feedback that actually has impact and is helpful. And they'll be met back with, okay, right, let's try it again. What do you think? What do you think? So, culture and the environment plays a big role in that.
Yes. Wow, that it's just so amazing that you're saying that because I'm experiencing that as well. And I heard this phrase, gosh, a long time ago. It said, organizations want people to think independently, but not act independently.
Ooh,
And that goes exactly against what you were just talking about. That organizations need to let leaders and high potential employees who are going to become leaders make some mistakes
mm.
and forgive it because of the learning moment in it. Because when they learn, they're not going to make the mistake twice.
And if we're in a learning culture, then we're also coaching, right?
Yes, agreed.
So we're not talking about learning to a disastrous moment. We're talking about taking some risks that are understood, that are calculated, that are talked through, that
Right,
are, that we engaging others because we don't have to do this alone. So we understand different perspectives and points of view. And so when we as leaders make decisions, we're making decisions that sometimes feel risky, right? Sometimes they are because we're really stepping outside of our comfort zone, right? To
right,
do something that's different. But
right,
again, we're met with, let's talk about that. Let's figure out what it is that we experienced and learned
right,
through that moment.
right, right. That's so true. Okay, so for my final question,
Yes.
knowing what you know about leadership courage, what advice would you give to others?
To other leaders?
Anyone,
Hmm.
or two-part leaders and everyone else?
Sure. What advice would I give to leaders? I would say don't be afraid of feedback. But
Okay.
ask good questions around feedback,
Okay.
and do that with an openness, a non-defensive posture. Because if I don't understand how I'm perceived, if I don't understand the real impact that I'm making or have the potential to impact, I don't necessarily know how to create that development mindset, right? That growth mindset that says I can do, I can shift, I can pivot and still be my authentic self. So that I would say, don't be afraid of feedback. And I'd say the same thing for others. Don't be afraid if you're leading someone in the organization and you're working with a leader who you want to develop, you see that excellent, amazing potential in them.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to give them that real and constructive and
Mm,
honest feedback.
okay.
That's how we grow, right?
Right.
Or we have reLead. But reLead is also based on maybe feedback that I've been given that says I've got some potential here, but I
Absolutely.
need the tools.
I agree.
And
Well,
reLead is a great tool.
thank you. Well, I don't know about all of you, but I think I speak for you that we could listen to Angela speak for 3 more hours. But what I want to do is thank Angela for sharing your important information, but it's your important mission. I feel more learned just listening to you. It's what it's doing is validating the way that I think about a lot of things because you're doing the same thing elsewhere with all different clients. Okay, so in the end, what I want to say to everyone that watches the reLeading podcast is that we have to keep in mind that life is short and
Mm,
careers are even shorter. And whatever you want to be on your journey, at the end of the day, be effective. be effective. You may think you're a good leader, but if you're not effective, then you're not a good leader. You want to be an effective leader. That is the win. So make sure that, again, that you're pausing on your journey. And even if it's through what Angela just talked about, getting feedback, right? Because when you get feedback, you're able to move forward, but you're going to be pivoting a little bit and then proceeding. And when you do that, you're doing that with purpose. And again, that's all toward us becoming much better leaders. But just keep in mind that when you focus inward, you're reLeading. And when you focus outward, you're actually re-engaging. And those are my 2 books. Those are actually my messages, where in my books where I tell you why and I show you how to do it. So until the next episode, I'm hoping that all of you become reLeaders and re-engagers for the win. See you next time.